Yeah, now we will see question number 51. So what is difference between public, private, protected and internal access modification in CSAP? Okay, so public can be accessed from everywhere. That is fine, right? Public can be accessed from everywhere, like, outside of the class also you can access. Private will be accessible only in the same class. So private can be accessed only in the same class. Protected is accessible within the same class and the derived class. So like, parent and child class, like, protected will be accessible. Internal will be accessible within the same assembly, but not from the other assembly. So internal will be like, accessed from the same project. You can say that, not in the other project. So what is different between public and internal? So public can be accessed in the other assembly also, but internal will be accessed only in the same assembly. So I'll just show you one example. So this is my example, right? I'll just remove this partial. Okay. So if you'll see here, I'll make this other class, like, class my class one. So if you'll see here, like, this is public class, right? So I can access outside of the, like, I can access directly in the main method, right? Outside of the class, I can access. So you can see here, like, method one, I can access from the main method, right? But if I'll make it private, then see, like, I'm getting this method one error because this is the private method, right? So I cannot access, like, if I'm making any method private, or maybe, like, if I'm making any properties private, so we cannot access from outside of the class. Okay, so now you get it. Now if I'll make it protected, right? So it will make it protected, then also I cannot access. But if I'll just try to use this class, like, I'll make it like, parent and child. Now this is my parent and child class. So from here I can access this method, like, if I'll show you method one, I can access from here. Okay, so this is fine, right? And so now we understand, like, public, private, protected we also understand, and internal, like, in the same assembly. When I'm saying the same assembly, that means, like, this is console app example is one assembly, right? So inside this assembly we can access the internal one. Now we'll see, like, question number 52. What is params keyword in CSAP? So the param keywords allow a method parameter to accept a variable number of arguments. Okay, so it can accept a variable number of argument in the method. And how you define that? So suppose, like, this is one method. Here I'm just using the param keyword and I'm just accepting the value of integer. Okay, so if you'll see here, what it does, it makes our work very easier, right? So that you can pass multiple values of the same type. So you can pass the multiple values of the integer here. So from the main method, like, I'm just calling this method print number. I'm just passing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, integer value. So I'll show you in the code. Let me copy this. I'll go there. I'll just paste it here. So this is one thing. And in the main class, like, how you will call that? So I'll remove this. This is not required. Okay, so in the main class, I can call that my class dot. Let me remove this one also. My class dot print number. Okay, and in the print number, I'll pass this value. Okay, so this is one way. Another way, like, this is just like individual value, right? I can create the array also. So suppose if you want to create the array, so integer, then I'll create an array equal to, like, I can pass the value like this one also, 10, 20, 30. Okay, and then the same thing I can. So let me copy this and I can pass in this way also, right? So this is also, like, possible. So let me run this application. I'll click on continue. So if you see here, like, it is just printing the value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, right? But there is one limitation of the params, right? So the params, like, a method can have only one params. So you can see here, like, it has only one param and it should be the last. It must be the last. Okay. So I cannot create, like, multiple params in the same method. So we'll try to copy and I'll try to create another params here. See, it will give me one error. A parameter must be the last parameter in the parameter list. Okay. Yeah, so now we will see what is extension method in CSAP. So an extension method allow you to add new methods to the existing type without modifying the original type or creating a new derived type. Okay, so it allows us to add new method in the existing type without modifying the original type. Okay, so this is my method, this is my extension method. So for extension method, the class must have static and method also must have static. Okay, so these are the two things. And another thing also you have to remember, the first parameter should be the this keyword, and after that, we have to specify what kind of type we are just trying to extend that. Okay, so here we are just trying to extend a string type. So if you see here in the main method, we are just passing the value, we are taking the input as a string. Okay, so here I'm just trying to extend the string value, and in a string value what I'm trying to do that, so I'm just splitting the word. So I'm splitting the word based on the space, dot or question mark. I'll split the word, and after that I'll removing the space, space I'm just removing that. So then it will the count the word. So if you see here, here I'm passing word as a hello, how are you. So how many words are there? 1 2 3 4. Okay, so based on how I'm deciding, based on the space, comma, or maybe the question mark. And after that I'm just removing the empty string. Okay, so I'll show you in the example. So let me copy this and I'll go in the code. So I'll remove this. So this is not required. Okay, so let me call this. Sorry. Okay, so I'll start the application. So you can see here, right? So it is going, and then it will print that. So you can see here, total count are 4. Okay, hello, how are you? I hope this is clear. Yeah, so now we will see question number 54. What is boxing and unboxing in CSAP? So boxing is converting a value type to the object type, or maybe you can see converting value type to the reference type. And what is unboxing? Unboxing is converting an object type back to the value type. So again, we are converting reference type to the value type. So what are the value types? So we can say value type are integer, float, and boolean are the value type. Okay, so this is the example, integer x equal to 1 2 3. So this is the value type, and value type where does it store? Is store in a stack. Okay, so when we are trying to convert in the boxing, when we are trying to convert value to the reference type, then it will store in the heap, where you can see this object, right? So it will store here in the heap. And in the reference type, what we are doing, we are just trying to again convert back from the object to value. Okay, so when we will convert back, then again it will store in the stack. Okay, this is clear. Now we'll see what is reflection in CSAP. So reflection allow you to obtain information about assemblies, modules, and type at the runtime. It is used for accessing metadata for the late binding. So when we are talking about the metadata, it will give you the information about classes, properties, or maybe methods, right? So I'll show you in the code, then you will understand it better. So let me copy this. I'll go here, I'll paste it here. Let me remove this, not required. So suppose if I'll run directly to the main method, so it will hit here, right? And you can see here the type. So it will give you the information of the type. This is a string and full name is system.screen string. So it is just giving the type of system.screen, right? Now if you'll see what are the methods. So type.get method. So you will get all the information related to methods. You can see index 32, then character, then everything we are getting all the information about the metadata. And that will print that. It will give you so many information because we have so many things. Let me run one more time. Yeah, so you can see here, right? There's so many information it is giving. So all the metadata information it is giving in the reflection. Okay. Yeah, now we will see like question number 56. What is read-only keyword in CSAP? This question I have already explained to you, but I'll just try to explain one more time. So the read-only keyword is used to declare a field that can only be assigned a value during initialization or inside the constructor. Okay, it ensures that the value cannot be changed once assigned. Okay, so read-only, like we can assign the value at two times, probably at the time of declaration. So you can see here, right? We have to use the read-only keyword, and here only we can initialize the value, or maybe if you want to modify the value, you can modify inside the constructor. Okay, so only two places you can add or modify the value. Okay, so here at the time of declaration, or maybe inside the constructor. So let me show you in the code. I'll copy this code and I'll paste it here. Okay, let me remove the unnecessary codes not required. I'll remove this also. No, it's not required. I'll remove another code. So you can see here, right? So this is my read only keyword. So here I am just assigning the value, or maybe if you want to change the value, you can change the value inside the constructor. So if I'll call this class, so let me call this class. Yeah, so inside that I have to provide one value. So if I want to change the value 20, I can change it here. Okay. So let me print it. Okay, my class dot my field. Okay. So I just wanted to show you. Let me run this application. Yeah, so you can see here, right? So first time it is assigning value equal to 10, but inside the constructor, I'm just passing the value 20. Okay. So it will change the value and then we can print it. So you can change it. See here, right? The value is printing as 20. Now we'll see what is const keyword in CSAP. That I have already explained you, but again let me explain you. So the const keyword is used to declare a constant field or local variable. Okay, it will declare the constant field or local variable. Constant must be initialized as they are declared and their value cannot be changed thereafter. Okay, so during the declaration only you can just assign the value. So once you will you declare the value, you cannot change in the code. Okay, so this is the difference of const and read only. So read only you can change the value inside the constructor, but const you cannot change the value. Okay, now you'll see question number 58. What is an attribute in CSAP? So attribute provide a powerful method of associating metadata or declarative information with code, assemblies, type, methods, properties, etc. This metadata can be then queried at the runtime using reflection. Okay, so you can assign attribute in the methods or maybe in the properties, and during the runtime or compile time it will give you the extra information to the compiler. Okay, that how to handle this code. So if you see here, this is one attribute. Absolute is a one attribute. Here we are just saying that use new method instead of this one, old method, and then we are passing a parameter as a true. So at the time of compiler, when you call the class and when you try to access the old method, it will not allow you to access. It will allow you to access only new method. Okay, so it is just giving the extra information to the compiler that you have to do this thing. Okay, and you must have seen some other thing, attribute we are using in the code, serializable, right? So that also we are just using in our code. That's so what serializable does, it it says you can easily convert the code in the binary or maybe the XML format, right? So that is also kind of one attribute. Yeah, so now we will see question number 59. What is the dynamic keyword in CSAP? Okay, so the dynamic keyword allow you to bypass compile time checking. So it will bypass compile time checking. Operation on dynamic type are resolved at the runtime. Okay, so if any error will come, it will resolve at the runtime. So it will bypass at the compile time. Okay, so this is the keyword, dynamic is the keyword, and this is the way you can create the object. So dynamic dot expand object. Okay, so this is the way, and then you can add the variable, so you can add name or anything else also. So I'll just show you in the code. So let me copy this, and I'll remove this one, not required now. Yeah, so you can see here, right? This is the way you can create the object, and after that, if you want to add anything else, dot age, that also you can add it. Okay, so it will not check, like, it will not check any error at the compile time, but there is some, like, disadvantage also. So suppose if you want to create, I'll just create one dynamic, like suppose I'll just create one number. Okay, I'll create a number and then I'll just assign as a 10, and then by mistake, like, if I'm just doing something, and so console dot write line number dot, if I'll write, like, if I'll write 2 upper. Okay, so you can see here, like, it's not giving me any error, so it will give error at the runtime. So this is one disadvantage, right? It will not check error at the compile time. So, like, any kind of error will happen, it will just ignore at the compile time. So people generally ask, like, the question, like, what is difference between var and dynamic? Okay, so var will be checked at the compile time, while dynamic will be checked at the runtime. So this is the core difference between var and dynamic keyword. Yeah, so now we will see question number 60. What is dependency injection in CSAP? So dependency injection is a design pattern used to implement inversion of control, IOC. Okay, it allows the creation of the dependent object outside of the class. Okay, and provide those objects to the class in the different ways. Okay, so when we are saying, like, IOC, that means, like, it should provide dependent object from the outside of the class rather than class creating using the new keyword. Okay, so once, like, how we are creating dependency from one class to another class, we are using new keyword, right, to create the dependency. Like, if you want to implement one class to another class, we have to use the object first. So dependency injection says that, like, you need not to create the new keyword, rather than that you just use, like, uh, use in the other form, like, you can create the interface, and after that you can use that. So what is the benefit, like, if you are using the dependency injection? So it will firstly, like, it will reduce the tight coupling. Okay, and we can easily do the testing. Okay, so this is the example. So I'll just say you, like, how to implement the dependency injection. So there are, like, 3 ways to implement the dependency injection. So firstly, like, what we will do, we'll just create the service means, like, we'll create one interface. After that, what we will do, we'll just create the client. So this is the client which is implementing this service. Okay, you can see here, right? And here I am just creating the method. I'm okay, and implementing that. And the third thing, like, we have to inject, right? Like, where we want to use that, there we have to inject. And how you will inject that? With the help of properties and constructor. Okay, so client is, like, using this. So if you see here, so client is directly using the interface. It is not using any kind of like, particular interface implementation. Okay, so what it is doing, so firstly it is, like, creating the interface. Then so here I'm creating the interface. Then what I'm doing, I'm just implementing this interface, right, in this class. And after that, I'm just what I'm doing, I'm just using in this class. Okay, so client, if you'll see here, it is just directly consuming to the service. Okay, I hope this is clear. So what I will do, I'll just copy this and then I'll show you in the code. So let me copy it till here to here. So I'll do in everything in one class only. I'll not create multiple class. So you can see here, right? I'll move this one. Okay, so you can see here I have created one interface here. Okay, and after that I'm just consuming this interface in this class, and then I'm calling this interface in my wherever I want to consume. Like, I'm just injecting here with the help of properties, and inside the constructor I am just using that. Okay, so in main class, how you will call this? So we have to create the, like, dependencies first. So let's see here. So I'm creating the dependency first. After that, what I'm doing, I'm just injecting that, like, in the class I'm just injecting that, and after that I'm calling to this method. Okay, So I hope this is clear. So if you see that in .NET Core, dependency injection is an inbuilt feature. Like, it is coming by inbuilt feature, and how you will achieve that with the help of transient, scoped, and singleton. Okay. But for the older version, like, if you are using the MVC, like old framework, there we were using like, Unity and AutoFact to achieve this. Okay. I hope this is clear. Yes, now we will see question number 61. Can interface have field in CSAP? No, interface cannot have field. They can only have method, property, events, and indexer. Okay, so it cannot have the field. So if I'll go here, I'll show in the code. So this is my interface, right? If I'll just want to create the field in, suppose my field, right? I cannot have the field, right? It will say here interface cannot have the instance field. Okay, but I can create the property. So if I'll just give the get and set, okay, we can create the property, but we cannot create the field. Okay, I hope this is clear. So interface have methods, properties, events, and indexer. Can interface inherit another interface in CSAR? Yes, you can. An interface can inherit one or more interface. So this is first interface, and this is the second interface, which is inheriting the first interface. Okay, so this is possible. Can an interface contain a static memory CSAR? No. Interface cannot contain static methods. All methods in an interface are implicitly abstract and public. Okay, so this is clear. What happens if class does not implement all members of the interface in the CSAP? So if a class does not implement all member of an interface, it must be declared as abstract. Okay, so I'll show you. So suppose like, okay, so what I'll do that. So this is one interface, right? I'll just create two method. So I'll create one more method here, serve one. Okay. So if you observe here, it is just giving the error here, right? I have to implement all the method, right? Service does not implement it, interface iServices dot serve one. Okay, so I need to implement that. That is the mandatory. So if you don't want to implement that, then you have to make this class as abstract class. Okay, so I'll make like, public void serve one, serve one as a abstract. Okay. Yeah, so it is giving error because of like we have to make this class as abstract also. Okay, so you can see here. So now this error will go. I hope this is clear. Now we'll see the next question. Can a class implement multiple interface in CSAP? Yes, a class can implement multiple interface. So suppose this is my first interface and this is the another interface, second interface. So this is the way like, we can call in the main class. So I can like, call multiple interface in the class. So this is my first interface and second interface, and I can implement the methods. Okay. So I'll show you. Let me copy this code. I'll just remove this. This is not required now. So this is my first interface. Uh, I'll copy this one also. So this is my second. This is my second interface. And in the main class, okay, so I'll remove this one. Not required now. Let me copy the whole thing. Okay. So let me copy the whole thing and I'll paste here. Okay. So I'll remove this one. Not required. So you can see here I have two interface, like, first interface, second interface, and then I'm just implementing both the interface, and after that I can implement the method. Okay, so method A and method B. Yeah, so now we will see like, question number 66. Can abstract classes be instantiated in CSAP? No, abstract class cannot be instantiated, right? We cannot create with the new keyword. We cannot create any object of the abstract class. I'll show you in the code. So what I'll do, I'll just remove everything. This is not required now. I'll just create one class here. So public abstract class, maybe like I'll just write test. Okay, so this is my class. Inside that I can, okay, sorry, this is the class. So inside that I can create the method, right? I can create the method or maybe field. Okay, but if you see here, if I'll just try to create, like, try to instantiate this. So I'll just try to instantiate this. Okay, I'll just try to create the object test equal to new test. It will give me the compile time error, right? Cannot create an instance of the abstract type or interface test. Okay, so we cannot instantiate it. Okay, now you see, like, an abstract class can have a constructor in C sharp. Yes, abstract class can have a constructor which can be used to initialize base class member when derived classes are instantiated. So we can create the constructor of inside the abstract class, right? So let me show you public, then test, and yeah, so I can create the constructor here, right? No issues. Now we'll see the next question. Can abstract classes have non-abstract method in C sharp? Yes, we can have the non-abstract method. Abstract classes have both abstract and non-abstract method, right? Can abstract method have a body in C sharp? No, abstract method cannot have the body. They must be implemented in the derived classes. Okay, so it cannot have the body, only the signature, only the implementation, right? So if I'll write void run, right? So this is, suppose this is one method. If I'll try to implement here, see, it will give me the error. Cannot be declare a body because it is marked as abstract. Okay, so it cannot be body in the abstract class. Okay. Now we'll see, like, can abstract classes implement interface in C sharp? Yes, abstract classes can implement interface, but they must provide implementation for all interface member or to be declared abstract. Okay, so if you are just suppose this is my interface, and if I'm using this interface in my abstract class, either I have to implement this signature, otherwise I have to mark it as a abstract class. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yeah, so now we will see, like, what is difference between a static class and a singleton class in C sharp. Okay, so static class contains only static members, cannot be instantiated, and cannot maintain state across multiple method calls. Okay, so when we are saying, like, only static member, that means it can contain only static methods, static properties and static fields. Okay, and it cannot be instantiated, meaning, like, we cannot create the object of the static class. Okay, and also, like, static class cannot be inherited. Okay, so how we will call the static method? Then we'll call, like, with the help of class name and dot method name. So we cannot create any instance object, right? So we will call, like, class dot method name. Okay, and when we use that, so basically we use for the utility, or maybe if you want to create any kind of helper classes, at that time we will use the static class. Okay, now we'll see, like, what is singleton classes. So it ensure a single instance of a class can contain instance members and can maintain state across multiple methods call. Okay, so it ensure, like, only instance, like only one instance throughout the application, and it can have, like, it can contain both, like, static and instance member, you can see here. And also it can be inherited, like, you can implement, like, interface in the singleton class. Okay, and when we use that, so basically we use for any login purpose, or maybe if you are doing any kind of the database connection, at that time, like, we can create the singleton class. Okay, so now we'll see, like, question number 72. How do you sort a list in C sharp? So you can use a list using the sort method. Okay, so this is my method, sort method. You can sort the list. So this is the list. Here we have the list, and if you want to sort that, you can use the sort method. After using the sort method, the output would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now we'll see, like, how do you convert an array to a list in C sharp? So you can use the toList method to convert, like, array to the list. Okay, so this is my array, and if you want to convert into the list, you can use the array.toList. Okay, so if you use the toList, it will convert array to the list. Now we'll see, like, how do you find an element in C's in a list using a condition in C sharp. Okay, so if you want to find any element in the list, how do you find that? So you can use the find method for that. Okay, so suppose this is my list, and if I have to find the element which is greater than 3, so you can use that find keyword and then n uh, greater than 3. Okay, so it will give you the result like 4 and 5. Now we'll see like how do you remove all element that match a condition from a list in CSAP. So if you wanted to remove all the element, right, so you can use the keyword like remove all method. So this is the list, and if you want to remove all greater than 3, so you can use that remove all and then n greater than 3. Okay. Now we'll see like what is the dictionary in CSAP. So a dictionary is a collection of key and value pair where each key must be unique. Okay, so it is part of the generic collection. Okay, so how you define the dictionary? So for that, like dictionary, we will use that and then key and value pair. So here key is the integer and value is string equal to new dictionary. Okay, and how we are adding the value? So dictionary dot add and like the integer, like the first one is the integer and the second one is the string. So this is the way you can add the value. Now we'll see like how do you check a key exists in the dictionary in CSAP. Okay, so you can use the contain key is the method. So if you want to check like this key exists in the CSAP, so you can use that the contain key and the first, like so it will check whether this key exists in the dictionary or not. Okay. Now we'll see like how do you iterate over a dictionary in CSAP. So you can use the for each loop, right? So for iterating anything like you can use the for each loop. So this is my dictionary and here I have added like 1 2. So if you want to retrieve the data, right, how you will retrieve that? You can use the for each loop, and if you want to retrieve like key, so you can retrieve the key. If you want to retrieve the value, then you can use the value keyword. Okay. Now we'll see like how do you remove a key value pair from a dictionary in CSAP. So you can use the remove method to remove the key and value pair. So suppose if from here if I'll remove one, so it will remove this one, like one it will remove from the dictionary. Okay. Now we'll see like how do you get a value from a dictionary safely in CSAP. So you can use that the try get value method to avoid any kind of exception. So this is my dictionary, and if you want to get the value, right, so if you want to get the value like one is there or not, so it will check like one exists or not, and if it exists it will give the value. Okay, so this is the way you can get the value without any exception. Yeah, now we will see question number 81. What is the difference between throw and throw exception in cache block? Okay, so throw rethrows the original exception, preserving the stack trace. Okay, and throw x throws the current exception block object, resetting the stack trace. Okay, so when we are saying like preserving the stack trace, that means it will give you the exact line where it is the error has been occurred. Okay, but in throw x it will not give you the exact line where the error has been occurred, but it will give you the line number where this throw exception has written. Okay, I'll show you in the code. So let me copy this. So I'll just remove this. Okay, so now you can see like I have A and B. I'm just trying to dividing A by B. So it will give you the error, right? So now we will just understand the throw. So F10. So now this is exception, like the exception is happening at the line number 27. So if you see here, if you go to the view details, so if you go see the stack trace, here it will give you the line number 27, like the error has been occurred. Okay, so this is the providing the correct information. So basically we use throw only. Okay, but what if I'll use the throw x? So I'll just comment this line. I'll try to use throw exception. Yeah, so now you just see. Okay, so if you go to the details, you can see here like it is just giving the 34 number line where this throw exception has been written. It is not giving the exact information like from where this issue has occurred. So in the code, like generally we use the throw only. Okay. So now we will see question number 82. How do you create a custom exception in CSAP? So you can create a custom exception by inheriting from the exception class. Okay, so this is the first thing, like you have to inherit the exception class. And why we create exception, custom exception? so that we can provide more meaningful information about an exception. Okay, so if you see here, I have created one exception class here. This is my exception class. So firstly, like what I am doing, I'm just inheriting this exception class. After that, I'm using this constructor. Okay, you can see here, like I'm just using one constructor where I'm just calling this base class. Okay, this base message, so that like it can pass the error message to the exception class. And this exception, like where I'm implementing, so you can see here, this is my try and catch block. Inside try block, I'm just using this. If age is less than 0, then I'm just calling this exception class. Okay, so that it can provide the more meaningful information. So let me show you in the code. Let me copy this code. What I'll do, I'll write this class. So this is my class. So this is my exception class, and after that I'll just use this one. Okay, so inside, yeah, you can see here, right? So let me run this up. Yeah, so now what it will do, it will throw here. Okay, it will go here, then it will pass the message, and now it will print the message. Okay, so if you see here, age cannot be negative. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now we'll see what is the finally block in exception handling. So the finally block is used to execute code regardless of whether an exception is thrown or not. Okay, so it is optional. It is commonly used for cleanup activities. Okay, so if you want to clean up any code, or maybe like if you want to release resources like database connection, or maybe file stream, or maybe for the login purpose also, like we can use the finally block. So if you see here, this is the part of try and catch block. So I'm just using try, catch, and finally. Okay, so finally is optional. Yeah, so now we will see question number 84. What are the four principles of object-oriented programming? So I have already explained this in another video in details. You can go and watch there. Okay, I'll just explain the definition here. So these are the four principles. So the first one is encapsulation. So encapsulation says that bundling the data and methods that operate on the data within one unit. Okay, so what it state that it is like it is state that we cannot give the direct access of some of its properties or method to the other class. Okay, and how you can achieve that? By using the access modifier, like private keyword and getter and setter. The second one is inheritance. It says like deriving new classes from the existing one. So it state like child class acquire the properties and behavior of the parent class. Now we'll see like what is the polymorphism. So polymorphism state that using a single interface to represent data, different data types. Okay, so it means like an object can act differently based on the situation. And how you can achieve that? By using the method overloading and method overriding. Okay, now we'll see like what is abstraction. So abstraction state that hiding complex implementation detail and showing only the necessary feature. And how you can achieve that? By using the abstract class and interface. Okay, yeah, now we will see question number 85. What are the solid principles? So this is also I've explained in another video. Please go and watch there. So solid is the combination of five design principles that helps developers build maintainable and scalable software. Okay, so this is like a single responsibility principle. Is it states that a class should have only one region to change. Okay, now we'll see like what is the open closed principle. So open closed principle state that software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. Liskov substitution principle. It states that subtypes must be substitutable for their base types. Okay. Interface segregation principle. Clients should not be forced to depend on the interface they do not use. Okay. And then a dependency inversion principle. It states that high level module should not be depend on the low level module but an abstraction. Okay. Now we'll see like what can you explain the single responsibility principle with an example? So the single responsibility principle states that a class should have only one region to change, meaning it should have only one job or responsibility. Okay, that is clear, right? So suppose if you see here, this is one class, so this is only one, this should have only one responsibility related to report only. So this is the content, right? This is saying like, I have only one responsibility. If you'll see the another class, printer, so it is just like, printing the report. If you'll see here, if you'll write here like, database connection method, then it is not relevant, right? It's irrelevant. So like, whatever the name of that class, it should be follow the same kind of method. Okay, now we'll see like, this is another class, report saver, so it is just saving the report. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now we'll see like, question number 87. Can you explain the open close principle with an example? So the open close principle state that software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. Yeah, so if you'll see here, I have one abstract class here, like, shape, and inside that I'm just using one abstract method like area. Okay, so how you can achieve that? By using this, like, you can say abstraction, abstract class and inheritance. Okay, so if you see here, this is one another class, circle. So circle have like, different method, different way to calculate the area, while rectangle have like, different way to calculate the area, right? So what I'll just override this method, right? So in circle I can override this method and use the way like, it is just calculating the area, and for rectangle I'm just using, this is the way like, it is just calculating the area, like, width into height. Okay, now we'll see like question number 88. How do you use using statement for resource management in CSAP? So the using statement is used to ensure that the disposable object are properly disposed when they are no longer needed. Okay. So when you are using the using statement, you need not to call this dispose method externally, right? It will automatically, it will handle and it will dispose everything. So this is the way like, if you're using the using keyword, and inside that, right, I'm just using the file stream to streaming the process, and here I have written the a code to stream. Okay, so once you will it will come here, right, in the closed block, it will automatically, it will dispose everything, so you need not to create external method to dispose this. So now we will see question number 89. Explain null coalescing operator in C sharp. Okay, so basically this null coalescing operator we use to simplify the null checks. Okay, so it returns the left hand operand if it is not null, otherwise it will return the right operand. Okay, so this is the example. So I have like, nullable string. So if this value is null, then it will return the default value, otherwise it will return the as it is. Okay, so let me copy this, I just wanted to show you. So this is the way actually we just implement this. So you can see here, right? So suppose I have, let me equal to null. Okay, so this time it will return this default value. Okay, if we'll just use the console dot. Okay, so you can see here, right? It is returning the default value. I hope this is clear. Uh, then question number 90, what is an anonymous method in CSAP? So an anonymous method is a method without a name used to create inline method. Okay, so it is like, without a name. Okay, this method is without a name and used to create inline method. And how do we create that? By using the delegate keyword. Okay, so delegate void my delegate. So this is the way you can create the anonymous method. But I don't think like, people are using anonymous method nowadays by using delegate method. We just prefer like, this lambda expression. Okay, rather than anonymous method. Now we will see question number 91. What is a tuple in CSAP? So a tuple is a data structure that can hold multiple values of different types. Okay, so this is the way like you can define the tuple. So you can use the tuple keyword, and if you see here, I can add different kind of different type of data. Okay, so first like, I'm just adding integer, then I'm adding a string, and then I'm adding the boolean expression. Okay, and how you will call this? by using the tuple dot item one. So see, this is item t one. If you'll call that, it will call one. If you'll call item two, it will call hello. If you call like tuple dot item three, it will call true. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now we'll see question number 92. What are the extension method in C sharps? That I've already explained you. Extension method allow you to add new method to existing type without modifying them. Okay, so it will add a new method in the existing type. So for that, first method should be static, then class should be static, then method should be static, and the first parameter should be this keyword. That is the criteria of the extension method. Now we will understand what is difference between task and thread in C sharp. So a task represent an actual operating system thread. Okay, a task is an abstraction that represent a piece of work that potentially run asynchronously. Okay, so for tasks we manually start and stop, right? If you want to start and delay the process for the operating system, so we have to write thread dot start, thread dot stop. While for the task we are just using for the asynchronous call, right? So it is much faster. So it, if you want to make your process much faster, we will use the task. Okay, now we will see what is the difference between for each and for loop in C sharp. So for each, both are used for the iteration purpose, right? For each loop and for loop. But for each loop over iterates over collection reading each element, right? For loop is more flexible, allowing custom iteration logic. So basically, if you want to add any custom logic, or maybe if you customize the code, you can use a for loop. Okay. Now we will see what is the difference between parse and try parse in C sharp. So parse throw an exception if conversion fails. So if you're just trying to convert anything and conversion is failed, then it will throw the exception. While try parse return a boolean indicating success or failure. Okay, so this is the way you can use try parse. So integer dot try parse, then we have to use the out keyword. Okay, so it will just give you the boolean expression whether it is success or false. Okay, so now we will see question number 96. What is difference between I enumerable and I queryable in C sharp? Okay, so both are interface and both are used for work with the collection of data. Okay, but both have used in the different context and the different behavior. So when we will use the I enumerable is used for in-memory collection manipulation. Okay, where the data is already in memory, if you say that the array or list. Okay, then we will use IEnumerable. IQueryable is used for querying data from out of memory, okay, like database, or maybe you can say that web services, where the data source is not in memory, okay. So for larger data set, this IQueryable is faster, okay. So let me show you one example. So if you see here, so this is the example of I enumerable. So data is already is in memory, right? If you'll see here, like list is already is in memory. Okay, then we are using this I enumerable. So it will just fetch the data. It will filter the data and fetch the data. So this is how this I enumerable work. But for I curable, what we have to do, so this is the example of iQueryable. So here you can see, right? Suppose the data is coming from the external source, maybe from the database. After that, we are using this iQueryable, right? So it will just maybe will take the data and then we are just doing some kind of condition, where condition we are doing. And after that, we are just storing in the list. Okay, we are just trying to convert into the list. So this is the main difference between IEnumerable and iQueryable. And now we will see question number 97. What is the sealed keyword used for in method declaration? Okay, so the sealed keyword prevent further overriding of a method in the derived classes. Okay, so if you are making any class, if any method is sealed, you cannot inherit that method. Okay, so if you see here, I have a base class. Here I have created one virtual method, and after that in derived class, what I have done, I'm just making this method as a sealed. So if you'll just try to inherit this derived class and try to use this method, you cannot able to do that. Okay, so let me show you. I'll just copy this code. uh, so suppose this is one method, right? This is the base class method. So here I'm able to use this method because there is no, I have not used sealed keyword, right? If I'll try to again override this, so probably if I'll use derived class, I have one, and I'm just inheriting this derived class. We cannot use this, see, because this is the sealed. Okay, you can see here, this is the sealed. The method is sealed. That's the reason you will not able to override this. Yeah, so now we will see question number 98. What is the singleton pattern in CSAP? Okay, so the singleton pattern ensure that a class has only one instance. Okay, so it has only one instance and provide a global point of access to it so that you can globally access. Okay, this is useful when exactly one object is needed to coordinate action across the system. Okay, so what is the meaning of singleton pattern? That means, like, it should have only one instance, it should be the global access, and, like, only one instance is created whenever we required, right? So it should not created automatically, it should created when we need it. That is called lazy initialization. Okay, now we will see. So, and when we use, like, design pattern, when we will use this singleton pattern, so we will use for the DB connection, maybe for the login purpose, or maybe for any kind of configuration setting. Okay, so at that time basically we use singleton pattern. Now we'll see, like, how do you implement a basic singleton in CSAP. So how you will implement that? So for that, firstly you have to create a private and a static property. This is, sorry, field. So we have to create that the public and a static field first. After that, I'm creating a lock object here so that, like, we can implement thread safety and ensure that only one instance is created even in the multi-threaded scenario. Okay, and this is like, private constructor I'm just creating so that we cannot directly instantiate it from the outside of the class. And here is the properties which should be the public. Okay, public and static, so that we can create the instance for that, right? So the first thing, it should be the public private field, then it should be the lock object, then private constructor, and then it should be the public and static property. Okay, and here I'm just checking created the lock object to ensure that it should follow the thread safety. Okay, and here I'm just checking if instance is null, then only I'm just creating the new instance, otherwise I will not create that. Okay, I hope this is clear. So let me copy this and then I'll show you in the code. So I'll paste it here. Let me remove this, not required. This all are not required actually. Yeah, so you can see here, right? I have created a private field here, private and a static field. Then I have created the lock object, okay, to ensure that the only one instance is created. Then I have created a private constructor here. Okay, after that I am just creating a public static property. Okay, field, this is field and this is property. And here I'm just setting one getter property, and here I'm checking the lock statement so that, like, we can check whether it is like, ensure thread safety or not. And after that I'm creating a single object here, like, single instance. How we will call that? So for that, like, let me call this in main method. So singleton, then equal to create singleton dot. Yeah, so this is a way, like, you can create that. And oh, sorry, so this is the first way, and I'll create one more instance here. Okay, so I'll just write one here. Okay, so if you'll see here, let me show you. I'll put one breakpoint here also. Okay, yeah, so now I'll do F12, F11. So if you'll see here, like, it is checking that. So instance is not created, then it will create, and then it will return back. Again, if we'll go, now it will check instance is created or not. So we have already created, right? So it will not go and create the new instance. I hope this is clear. Now we will see question number 100. What are the common ways to implement the singleton pattern in CSAP? Okay, so common ways to implement the singleton pattern include lazy initialization. So instance is created when it is needed first. Okay, so whenever we want at that time only it should create the singleton pattern. Okay, it should not create automatically. So through lazy initialization we can handle that. Thread safe initialization using lock to ensure that only one instance is created in the multi-threaded environment that I've already shown you, right, with this with the help of lock object. Now we'll see eager initialization. Instance is created at the time of application startup. Okay, so in startup.cs you can call it, so it will be automatically created. So whenever we want at that time it should create, right? So a lazy initialization I have shown you in the code, when we are calling at that time only it is just creating the instance. Okay, now we will understand what is the thread safe singleton and how do you implement that. So that I've already shown you, right, in the code. A thread safe singleton ensure that only one instance of the class is created even in the multi-threaded environment. Okay. Now we'll see what are the advantage and disadvantage of using that singleton pattern. So these are the advantage and these are the disadvantage. So it will control access a single instance. You can create the single instance only, reduce memory usage. Okay, consistent state across the application. And what is the disadvantage? Disadvantage are can be difficult to unit test due to the global state. Okay, since it is maintaining only one state, so it will be sometimes it's very difficult to do the unit testing. Potentially high dependencies in the code. Okay, and can lead to the tighter coupling of the code. Okay, now we will understand when would you use a static class instead of singleton. Okay, so it depends, when we have to use that. So okay, so use a static class when you have to, when you have a set of utility method that do not need to maintain a state. Okay, so if you don't want to maintain any state, you can use the static class. Use a singleton when you need to maintain the state and ensure only one instance is created of the class throughout the application. Okay, so if you want only one instance is created throughout the application, you can use the singleton. So based on the requirement, we create a static class or maybe singleton.